an AppleVis original.
Welcome to Apple Crunch for September 2025. My name is Thomas Domville, also known as AnonyMouse. We're back for another great round of Apple news, and I might even introduce some things that we may not be talking exactly about Apple, but we'll come to that in a moment here. But in the meantime, Desiree and Marty are busy out doing their variety of things. I know Desiree is on her way back from Texas, so everybody's been busy. However, I did get a new co-host to invite him on, and a lot of you probably heard his voice before on the AppleVis Extra. I decided to bring in Dave Nason. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Thomas. Thanks for having me on. Sorry, everybody, you have to listen to me on this one as well.
It is wonderful to have you, Dave. It's been, I've had the show for about 7, 8 years, and you've never been on, so I'm just glad you got to be on.
Yeah, we did one, do you remember? And then there was a loss of recording of some description. There was a technical glitch, and it never saw the light of day.
Oh, man. Well, okay. Well, a first official release if nothing goes wrong today. How's that?
Yes, exactly. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. And then on the other side, we got our John Gassman from California. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing fine, Thomas. Glad to be back for another podcast, and a lot to talk about.
Right. Did you have a busy month, John?
Yeah, we did a cruise for about a week up into Maine and Rhode Island and Boston, and then into Canada for a couple of days. And got home from that one, had a good time, and then got home, and a few days later went to Washington for a radio convention where Larry and I they were nice enough to give us a Lifetime Achievement Award for a few things we've done in the hobby over the last 50 years. So we've had a busy September. So it's kind of nice, for me at least, not to have as much to do in October, November, December, except for my normal Disney candlelight rehearsals. So, but at least I'm not out of town. I'm in the general area. So,
well, congratulations! That is an honor. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's completely unexpected, but very nice, and got a chance to see some great friends again. So, it was a lot of fun.
Man, ever since you retired, you've been like really busy, man. I mean, my gosh. I mean, just this year alone, was it 2 cruises? And then
2 cruises this month. Yeah. I mean, I hope the money holds out. I tell you.
Right? It's like, man, you got one heck of a 401k plan or something going on there. But
I haven't touched it yet, but I'm going to have to pretty soon, I think.
You're going to write the book on how to retire.
Yeah. Right? Oh, yeah. I love being retired. I've got more flexibility, but, going from a good paycheck down to virtually nothing is a big adjustment.
It is, but it sounds like you're making the best of it as in being retired. So I'm so glad to hear that you're enjoying life the fullest.
Oh, yeah.
Well, guys, like John said, there's a lot to cover. Let's go ahead and jump into it. First up, I thought we talk about some news on AppleVis site. This month has been kind of busy. We finally got some things moving along in terms of getting a developer to help us out on some Drupal stuff. Drupal is the type of web page that we host on. I don't know what you want to call it. It's sort of a
CMS?
What do you call that? It's not a web page, but it's what it runs on, right?
Is it a CMS, content management system? Or is that
something like that? So
something like WordPress, that kind of thing, if people know what that is.
There you go. It's kind of like WordPress. So it's how the site is put together and how you see things. And it is very advanced. And none of us on the team are technical enough to know exactly how this works. So we had to get a third-party developer to start helping us on some improvements to AppleVis. And it's long overdue. So we finally got some pretty cool stuff coming to you. So some of the things, if you haven't been to AppleVis for a while, when you first come to the site, the first thing you're going to notice is that we have a totally new redesigned menu. So take a look at that. They are collapsible. I know some people are not a big fan of collapsible, but there are some pros and cons to both ways. But we have kind of revamped the menu to make things a little easier to find things. Before we had, if you go to a particular page, then you had to hunt for something on that page to go to somewhere else. So we're trying to put everything into the main menu area so you don't have to do that. So it's all there for your convenience. So if you get a chance, take a look at that and give us some feedback, because we're looking for some good, valuable feedback on the menu. So we're pretty excited about that. So got a revamped interface. We have some pretty long time wants from our users, and we are hearing you, and we do want to listen and take your feedback. And one of those is being able to delete your own comments. So there might be a reason. I know we've had some issues with AI bots. So these AI bots are now like this huge deal on all websites out there. Ours is just one of those that are being pegged by these AI bots, and these are like, Google has their own AI, so they have to kind of, what we do, a web crawl, so they just kind of grab everything from AppleVis and to put in their AI, so it's teaching the AI. And that's kind of the biggest annoyances we have had in the past 6-8 months, mostly. You probably seen some slowdown. We had to upgrade our servers to handle some more, more load and performances because it was running slow. So from time to time, you notice when it gets slow, you might accidentally double post something. Didn't think you saved it right, and you saved it again. And so that caused duplication. So we now give our users the ability to delete their comments, or if they felt like they said something and they don't want to have that up there anymore, they can delete that. So that's been kind of a long come overdue. And some of the requests we have for forum names. So if you come to the main page, you see the forum post. People are wanting to know what forum categories that went into. So when you come to see that, it'll tell you the name of the title and what forum category it now fits into. So we got that implemented. We moved the login link up in the main menu. So when you open up the main menu for the first time, you go down to account. That's been kind of a thing that a lot of people were unable to find the login as easily and accessibly. So now that has been moved up to the very top, so you'll be able to see that. Now we have been kind of dousing into AI moderation. Why did we do this? And some people were kind of hesitant about it, and I get it. I totally understand. So right now, this is just experimental that we're testing as a moderator, as the team. One of the heaviest things that happens day to day is watching every comment that goes onto the site. And as you can imagine, that's a lot. There is a lot of activity going on in AppleVis, but sometimes, we may be out for an hour or two just for personal reasons or whatever not. We're in a busy doing something like I'm doing the Apple Crunch, for example. So it's hard to snap something or tag on something or get to something that needs to be attention. So we get a lot of spammers and whatever not, or somebody abuse our rules and things like that. And we try to quickly squash that. So the moderation API is what that's supposed to help us do is anything that's notable, as in these are obviously rule guideline infraction. So those things will kind of tag it and let you know that this has been, just let you know this is not acceptable and things like that. So it's not something being heavy-handed. It's going to be something that's going to be light-handed. That's what we are trying to experiment, see if it's something that'll work for us. And it's not in any way to squash or to, for opinion. So we're not trying to suppress anything or anything like that. So I just want to let you know that. Have you noticed a lot of that stuff on the site there, Dave?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's some really good ones there. And it marks, actually, I hadn't almost realized it myself, the 1-year anniversary of the relaunch of the site. And it was great to see that, all these improvements have been made in that time. I think the menu one definitely is good. I think you're right. Like, not everybody loves collapsible, but you have so many things. Sometimes you just have to have them in submenus, and having that one about the login, the account being moved to the top. That came directly from the user feedback when Michael announced some of the other changes. So it's great to see that. And I think the forum post names, I think, is really good. On the main page, it seems like it's one of those, the little things really matter sometimes. So if you see the title subject of a post, and previously you might have gone, if that's iOS, I'm interested. If that's Mac, I'm not interested, or vice versa. But you had to go into the post to find out. Whereas now on that homepage, you can see this is in the iOS forum, this is in the Mac forum, or the Watch forum, what have you. So I think that's a huge improvement. They'd be the big ones for me. The AI moderation, I think you're right. It's something we're just trying out. And I think it's mainly to catch out, very obvious problems with language and that kind of thing. Like I say, and we'll see how it goes. But definitely if people have feedback or experiences with it, let us know.
Yeah, it's definitely experimental, something that we're experimenting with. It may not even stick around, but I do know there's one more thing I will add to that list is that we have heard people saying that they try to log in through our site and come back a few days later and they're automatically logged out. So they want a way to be able to stay logged in for a little bit longer. So we're currently working on that as well. So that's kind of a new thing. So the point is that this is a ongoing thing, and we finally got the ball rolling, and there's many things for us that we have put onto a list that we want to accomplish. And so you'll be seeing those changes. So I'll try to bring them up on the podcast for those that don't visit the site all that often, so to keep you up to date with what's going on. But I imagine, John, you've probably been too busy to notice those things. Have you noticed that, or have you been onto your site
It's been about a month since I've been up there, so I've not had a chance to look at them, but I will now that you mention it. I'll go up there and take a look.
Yeah, I'd be curious what you think of the menu. I think that's kind of a big thing. And if you think of anything as well, just let us know. And so I appreciate it. On to other related Apple news. And I think this is kind of a critical thing that we want to definitely address and talk to people about today. And that is when iOS 26 came out, one of the things that we came across after that we posted our list of things or known bugs in 26, we started getting to a lot of reports from people, our users, saying that when they update to iOS 26, their device was unresponsive, as meaning there was no VoiceOver. So technically what was going on is that you get to the login screen, so where you put the PIN code in, as you have to put in the passcode each time you install a new iOS, and it was stuck there. There was no VoiceOver, and you have even if you try to initiate Siri or triple click their side button, it would not turn on VoiceOver. And the weird thing is that after you enter the passcode, then VoiceOver popped on. So that was pretty critical. So we were kind of in a rush, and we made some updated to on AppleVis to let people know of this problem and some possible workaround. But needless to say, Apple found out about this, and we reported it to them, and they responded very quickly, which was great. This is a rare part about Apple that I really love about Apple when they listen to us and address these things. So it was so critical enough that they were able to release a 26.0.1 that now corrects that problem. So if you have not gone to iOS 26 and you're worried about that critical bug, well, safely assured that this new 26.0.1 has now resolved that problem. Man, what a nightmare that would have been, John.
Yeah, it didn't happen to me at all, but I have a couple of friends who did experience it. So I'm sure that they've already upgraded, and for most people probably didn't have a problem. But for the few that did, upgrading to this new update that just came out should fix that problem, luckily. So you would think that it would have been caught in beta, but again, it didn't occur to everybody, or it didn't happen to everybody. So it is something that can be missed by people.
I think the thing with that is that, our whole team, for example, would have been on the beta, but if it didn't happen in the early betas when we all jumped on, then it wasn't happening it was only from when you went from the leap from 18 to 26, it wasn't happening from 26 version to, beta to beta. So
yeah.
that's possible.
Yeah.
You can't catch everything, having tested a lot of stuff in beta. I mean, as careful as you try to be, you're going to miss some of them. It just because it doesn't happen to everybody. And most people don't understand that. Not everybody sees that happen to them. So it can sneak by you without you knowing it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's such a unique bug. It's like Dave said, is that the reason it went past us as a team is that we were all on the beta already. And this only exists for those that were 18 coming up to 26. And so none of us did that. I mean, yes, we did that from beta 1 or beta 2, but it wasn't occurring at that point. So it must have come on later in the beta cycle. And none of us really saw that. And not even that, but, even if we updated, most people were able to get on just fine. So I don't know what the circumstance was, what triggered it and things like that. So it's one of those random flukes, and it's unfortunate. And I get it. I hear people saying that should have been caught. You know what? It is tough because if there were 6 of us on that beta testing, none of us seen that, and I hadn't heard it from anybody else during the beta cycles, it's hard. So, but the point is I'm really glad that Apple reactively made this fix for us quickly rather than wait until 16.1, because man, that would have been a nightmare for myself. Now, fortunately, I do have some sighted people around in my house, but that would have been a disaster. But I assuming for you, Dave, you probably could just take that to work and somebody there could help you with that.
I guess, or my family aren't a million miles away, although I don't have to get on my Mac and contact them from my email them or something. But it would have been, because I live alone, it would have been a problem for me had I had it. But thankfully it didn't happen to me. I have my secondary device, my test device is a 12 mini, which I kept on 18 until yesterday when the 26.0.1 came out, and I updated it, no problem. So that was good. But definitely a big issue for those that did have it happen. Suddenly having no device can be a scary place to be, particularly for us, I think.
I totally agree. Just glad that that's fixed. So I want to make a mention of that in this podcast for those that haven't heard about that news. So we are safe to go. A lot of people are still asking, should I upgrade? It really is going to be up to you, honestly. There are still some bugs on 26 that is kind of annoying. I think overall it's usable. I mean, John, are you on 26 now?
Yeah, and I upgraded to 26.01 yesterday, meaning Monday, or whenever it came out.
And what's your experience been like?
So far, it's been fine. I never really had any problems previous to that, so I haven't had any major problems, and I've been gone enough so that I haven't had a chance to fool around with it. A lot of the new features. I accidentally did get my phone placed in the new display, and didn't. I realized that there was a new way to look at your phone, but I didn't do it intentionally. So I had to look around until I could find the place to get rid of it. And I don't plan on going back to the new display. To me, it doesn't.
You're talking about the different display within like the phone app itself. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, where everything is combined.
Yeah, the compact view.
It doesn't do anything for me.
How about you, Dave? Things been pretty good for you? Is there anything in particular that's been driving you batty?
In 26.0, I have nothing, no showstoppers. WhatsApp, which I know is debatable whether we have it on our list. It's debatable whether that's an Apple thing or a WhatsApp thing or what, but it is definitely only happening in iOS 26. And I know in North America, WhatsApp isn't huge, but where I am, WhatsApp is it's like the one and only place people communicate, really. And I can't react to messages anymore, which again, it's better. At least you're still able to, read and write messages and so on, but it's still very irritating that you can't react to messages.
So the WhatsApp is that just only on the 26?
Yeah, so it works fine on 18, but once you go to 26, when you bring up the reactions menu, it pops up and then disappears before you can select anything, which is a a very strange bug. But we believe a fix is on the way from WhatsApp. So,
well, I hope so. And that's kind of a big deal. There's a lot of people using WhatsApp, and that's something they need to know about. Nonetheless, 26 is out. Now go grab it. 2601 is out there for you to play with. Now that the dust has settled, let's talk about this awe-dropping keynote that Apple did to talk about the new iPhone. So I'm not going to go over everything. I thought, well, maybe we just kind of go over some of the things that we thought. Mostly in particular, I wanted to talk to Dave about this, and that is the iPhone Air. It sounds like you are interested in the Air. Is that right?
I definitely am interested in, like, I went the whole year saying I have no interest in buying a new phone, and my 15 Pro is working fine. I don't need new phones every year anymore, all that kind of stuff. And then the new Air, it just piqued my interest a bit. I like a slick, light, easy to handle phone, I suppose. I loved my old 12 mini, but it's obviously a bit long in the tooth now. And even though the Air has a much bigger screen even than the 15 Pro, it's still, from everything I'm hearing, even the earlier reviews, it's just very light and easy to use. And I know it gets criticism. People are talking about the compromises, but like, I think all phones have compromises. It's just, on the Pro, you're getting more battery and better cameras, and you're sacrificing kind of portability. And with the Air, you're getting more portability, but you're maybe sacrificing a little bit of the battery and the cameras, so.
Well, let me ask you this. Since you really are interested in the Air, being only $100 cheaper than the Pro, is that something, you just like what they're having about the thinness and some of the advanced things they have on it? Is that more interesting to you for $100 less? Is that something that you would not want to do?
Yeah, the Pro doesn't particularly interest me because it's just another phone that's kind of the same as my 15 Pro, but just a little bit better, you know what I mean? But I don't think I'll notice any difference. And actually, it'll be thicker even, apparently, whereas the Air at least is something a bit different, you know what I mean? It's a new style of phone. So I probably like that as well, that every now and then it's just nice to have something that feels like a change or something new, but so far I've resisted. So, see.
Right. The one thing I was thinking about you is because you are one of the guys that don't have cases on their phone. So I would think the Air would be gorgeous for that reason, because it is thin. And so you don't have that limitation.
Slightly curved back feel to it, apparently, as well. So it's not quite as squared off. So again, makes me think back to the old, 7 or 8, the SE, that style almost, except bigger, obviously. But, that kind of, even the 3GS back in the day, that kind of slight curve to the back would be, around the edges would be nice.
Right. And so, at first, when I first heard about the iPhone Air, I was immediately in a defensive mode, as in, oh God, this is not going to be a great phone. But I'll be honest, over time, and after I heard things and listened to some reviews and stuff like that, so, as a blind person, it doesn't have the ProMotion. I'm thinking, well, I really don't need that. It doesn't have this awesome camera, and I'm thinking, well, I don't really need that. The only thing that concerns me about the camera is that is the macro shot. So it doesn't have the macro camera, but it has a regular camera that works really well. It's just, I've heard that obviously when you get into optical zoom and things like that, this is where things start to really go awry and go different. Battery life, it's not as bad as I thought, Dave, because when I looked at it, I thought it was going to be a disaster. And every review says, oh, it's got this really low battery. And I'm reading it, and it's really not that much difference, because on the 16 Pro, I think it was 29 hours on video mode, and this does 27. I was like, that's not that big of a deal. I was thinking way worse, like the Mini did.
It depends what you're comparing it to, I guess. So if you're comparing it to the 17 Pro or something, then yeah, it looks bad. But if you're comparing it to the 13, the 14, the 15, whatever that you're upgrading from, you're probably not losing anything, so
that's true.
And I think on the cameras, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. So go for it. 3, 2, 1.
And I think on the camera point, it has a really good camera. It's just it hasn't got the ultra wide camera. And I have to be honest, I don't know if that matters or not for what I do with a camera. I don't know if I ever use the ultra wide camera on my current phone. So yeah, that one would be a TBC, I think. And then the thing that concerns me a little is this the mono speaker. And again, I think if you use your phone for listening to music through its own speakers, it'd be a no-go. But I don't. If I listen to audio on my phone, it's with earphones or what have you. So, but will it be annoying even for just using VoiceOver? I don't know. That's the other one that I'm a bit nervous about, I guess, is the speaker.
Right, that mono. So that's the reason I said for $100 more, you get way better camera. You got stereo speakers, and you get better processor, about 5 more hours longer battery life. And so there's little things. It's like for $100 more, it's like, man, do I really need that thinness to compromise on the other things just for $100? That's what I'm asking. Is it worth $100 of heartaches because you're missing those things?
Yeah, I suppose that's why they have a range of phones, because we all have different priorities, so if battery is so critical to you, then it's absolutely not worth it for you, but if portability and stuff is what you value more, then yeah, the Air might be the one for you. I think that's how I try to look at it. They have 4 new phones out, and you can choose the one that meets your priorities.
John, since you and I are on older devices as well, I have no desire to go into this new stuff. What is your first thought on this iPhone 17 when you heard it for yourself? Or the Air, I should say.
Nothing really stood out for me. And I got my 16 Pro a little less than a year ago. So I'm really not in any hurry to upgrade unless there's something major that comes along. And then I'll have to make that judgment. But I'm not going to do the 17 this year. Whether we move to the 18 in a couple of years, it depends. And now that I'm retired, that tends to make me want to be a bit more cautious. When money was coming in every week, I didn't care that much. But we'll see what happens. If something really major comes in on the 18, then I'd have to think about it. But I don't think I'm going to upgrade to the 17.
Right. Well, I'm kind of with both of you. I'm sticking with my 16 Pro. I'm happy with it. There's nothing in 17 Pro that I definitely need, but I will say it is pretty clear in direction where they're going with these phones, and I'll clarify that. You'll notice in the iPhone 17, one of the things they really tout on the Pro version is the CPU, of course. It's got the A19 now. The CPU is not all that different between that and the 16 Pro, so it's not that big of a speed bump. We're talking about 10, 50%, which is nominal. So generally, when you have something less than 10%, you're really not going to notice a whole lot of difference. But where it really sings, and it should alert you to be so you know where Apple's going with this, is that the GPU, that is a set of chips that is where the Apple Intelligence takes advantage of. It used to be for gaming. So the more GPU cores that you have, the better the processing comes for graphic-wise. So it makes sense when you have a bigger screen, you need more GPUs. But we're talking about a substantial jump. And a lot of people probably don't know this, but we're talking like a 40% jump in the GPU speed compared to this A19 chip to last year's 16 Pro. And that to me is huge. That means they are really finally starting to take serious of this AI stuff, and they want some serious GPU to be crunching those AI stuff on your device. So I imagine by next year that GPU is only going to be enhanced even more. And it makes me wonder if they're going to put more AI balance on your device, meaning that you're going to have this local LLM AI on your device rather than like ChatGPT where you type, it goes out to the server, processes it, and brings it back. And this meaning that if the GPU gets high enough, all that can be done on your device. So I use Apple Intelligence myself, especially with iOS 26, where developers are now taking advantage of the Apple Intelligence for those that have the newer device that can support AI. For example, I use Lyre that reads all the RSS feeds, so it gives me my news. But one of the features that's on there now that people can tap in, they can tap into the Apple AI, so I can have all my news summarized for me. And this is like, wow. But the problem is it's a little bit slower. So I'm thinking these newer A19 chips on these i17 Pro going to be speedy and snappier. And so it's going to make me think about the AI for those on a 15 Pro is going to get slower and slower because it has to process that. So with that knowledge in there, so be on the watch for that. And that's kind of a big thing about the iPhone 17. Now, I will say I was surprised with the iPhone 17 Pro going back to aluminum base because remember you guys, they touted about how this is going to make it so much more lightweight and so much more durable and it doesn't scratch and everything. And then all of a sudden, oh, we're going to go back to aluminum. It turns out that the iPhone 17, if you have not seen them, the back of your device now, right now it's all kind of a glass plate on the back and you got that big old horrendous camber bumps on the corner. Well, it's different. So when you look at the iPhone 17 phones now, just think about where the bottom of the volume up button is on the side. So just think about that's where that line is. So go to the back side, all the way across that and up to the top is aluminum. So it's covered in aluminum where the bottom half is glass. So you don't have a full glass facing. So the reason they did that is to cool off your phone even more. So I'm thinking that's because of the higher GPU. And as everybody knows, or if you don't know, when that GPU is peaked or pegged at 100%, that phone warms up fast. And so I'm thinking the more and more processor power they put in that GPU, the more they need to have that thing cool down. So that aluminum is supposed to take the heat away from the chip. So your chip is right there on the upper right-hand corner of your phone where your camera's at the upper left-hand corner. So that's why you have that little, what they call plateau. So did you guys know about that? Dave, did you know about all that new design and why that's happening?
Yeah, less so about why it's an aluminium, so I have to use our way of saying it. Back and sides, because they've kept the titanium rails on the Air, interestingly enough, but the other ones have gone to aluminium. But I think there's still like a little glass piece because that's where the MagSafe still needs to be glass, I think, to work or something like that.
Right.
And they talked about this vapor chamber as well, which again, the Air doesn't have, but the Pros have. I'm not sure about the regular 17, if that has the vapor chamber or not. But again, it's all about cooling and a chip, because these chips are so powerful now. What can stop them is that they overheat and they have to, like I said, they have to be pegged. They have to slow down so that the phone doesn't shut off. So this vapor chamber allows them to run quicker. So even though the Air and the Pro may have the same A19 chip in them almost, I think there's one less GPU in the Air, but they could run to the same speed theoretically because the Pro has better cooling. It will actually be able to run faster for longer. So again, yeah, that's the whole thing. But like you say, for us, day-to-day use, not going to see much, but it's maybe when and if Apple Intelligence really comes into play, that maybe we'll notice the performance difference.
Yeah, right now we're not going to notice it until we see a lot more significant AI features come along. When that comes along, I think we're going to notice a big difference in speed-wise. And I think that's why I said be on the watch for that. Maybe not in this phone, but next year's phone 18, if they come out with all the features that they promise, then I could start seeing, wow, I definitely going to have to go to 18 to take advantage of that higher GPU and whatever not. But I don't know, there's something to watch for, John. You're not an AI user on Apple anyway. Do you use that at all?
I use it a little bit, but so far I've been kind of disappointed in what has come out, and so I haven't spent a lot of time with it. I mean, if they really do begin to make use of more AI next year, then that's something to take a look at. But I use AI just a little bit. I use it a lot on my home computer, but not as much on the phone. at least not for the moment. So, and that might change based upon the things that come out down the line.
No, I agree. I think it's right now we're not really seeing a lot. I think when we see iOS 27, my fingers are crossed that we'll see finally some serious AI attention and love that Apple has needed to catch up for past couple of years. The other thing I want to make a note is that a lot of people are excited that the AirPod Pro 3 is come out. Now, the only thing that I saw in this, guys, is that I was kind of surprised is that, yes, it got better active noise cancellation and things like that. Obviously, the Pro 2 has been out for a couple of years, and it's probably more than likely a lot of you probably need a new update because the battery is starting to drain. And I noticed that with the Pros is that you seem to have to replace the Pros every 2 years or so. But it has just a little bit less battery life than the Pro 2. That surprised me because there wasn't a whole lot in 3 that I can think of why it loses a couple of 2-3 hours on versus the Pro 2. That's strange, Dave.
It is. I only heard this today because I think the actual AirPods themselves last a little longer. I could be wrong, but I think it's the whole package with the case and AirPods combined, so to speak, that is slightly less. It doesn't concern me hugely, to be honest. My biggest actual concern with them is that they've been given a new shape, and I know you'll never make an earbud that everybody in the world is happy with, but the AirPod Pro 2 fit my ears perfectly, like absolutely perfectly. So I'm nervous to go to a new one that has a different fit. It might be fine, but it's just, that slight nervousness. Yeah,
I heard good things about it, though, about the new ear tip. So it sounds like, I mean, I've heard a lot of people having issues with the earpiece not really fitting them as well. And it seems like this might have changed a little bit in terms of being able to fit your ears a little bit better. It's that it makes you...
That's what they say, yeah. And like they've got, apparently they're a little bit bassier, which can some people think is good, some people think is not so good. We have a really good review on the site. It went live today as we're recording. Oliver Kennett wrote it just his first week with the AirPods Pro 3. So if you're interested, I'd definitely give that a read because really well written and really interesting kind of take on it. And I'm still, with my AirPods, I think the 2s came out 2 or 3 years ago. I bought them anyway 2 or 3 years ago. And like the case isn't lasting too well anymore. I have to charge the case quite a lot. But the AirPods themselves have held up pretty well. So I'm actually now on the fence of like, do I actually need a new pair? Probably not. I can probably get another year out of these.
Yeah, I hadn't wondered about that because I knew you had the AirPod Pro 2. And, Christmas is coming up, my friend. So maybe you can find some $50 off or sale or Black Friday on those. Maybe it tempt you to get one. Now, I don't have a Pro. Now, do you have an AirPod Pro, John?
No, I do not.
Okay.
No.
Have you ever played with any earbuds like that before?
I'm trying to think. I may have looked at them, but I didn't need anything about that, so I didn't go ahead and utilize it. But I know what a lot of people do, and I think that's fine. I just have never.
Not something you would ever use, huh?
No, maybe sometime down the line, but not so far.
Oh man, I think
while you're sitting on the cruise ship listening to an audiobook, no?
Well, I've got a stream.
Okay.
So I tend to do it that way. But, there are a lot of good reasons to have one. I just have never done so before.
Oh, boy. I think Dave and I could live on it. Now, the only reason I don't have a Pro because I'm a hearing aid user, so it wouldn't help me. So I stream everything to my hearing aid. So everything goes straight to my aid. So it's like an AirPod without the noise cancellation and stuff like that. So, I would definitely be buying those all the time. Gosh, we're heavy users, so I never use the speaker out of my phone ever. It's rare unless I have to share something with somebody and they have to see the screen. I'll share but I think Dave and I are in the same boat.
Big time. Even if I'm, at a friend's house or something like that, or with family, you see some VoiceOver users, and I'm not criticizing. We're all, I'm just saying some people they'll still be using their phone, and you see them kind of holding their phone up to their ear, trying to read a message or text message, and I just pop an earphone in my ear. I just pop one earpod in, one at the left or the right in, and then I feel like I'm just using my phone like anyone else. You know what I mean? Because discreetly, so.
Right. I mean, I could be riding somewhere and I could just pop, I have my ears in already and I'm just listening to something and people on a plane, we can listen to movies or books easily. If you're on a mass transportation subway or a tram or a trail, you can use that. So it's kind of nice to have that private thing. But, in the end, there's two things that kind of surprised me, guys, is that number one is they called it the iPhone's Air. They didn't call it an iPhone 17 Air. So I'm like, oh no, is this a sign of they're not sure if they're going to come out with the new Air 2? So we're going to have to learn that if they do come out, do you have the first generation Air? It's kind of like that, the SCs, and now it's called the E, and it's like, man, you're confusing the heck out of all of us. And I really don't like that, and it makes me concerned a little bit because the Mini ran for 2 years, didn't run. The Plus came out for 2 years, didn't run, and now we got the Air, and it makes me like, is this going to stick around? And I don't know. But so what worries me, and the second point is that for those that don't know, more than likely the iPhone Fold is supposed to come out next year. This is the new foldable phone that's going to be outrageous price. I can already tell you it's going to be about $2,000, but it's a collapsible phone. So you can open it up and make this huge, kind of like an iPad mini size screen. Then you can collapse into a normal phone. But if that were to happen, we can have 5 different versions of the phone. I miss when we had the one phone, the 3GS one phone.
Steve Jobs would love you, Thomas.
Yeah, 4S was, I am, call me old or whatever in it, I'm getting kind of discouraged. I don't like all the different flavors. It seems like we're getting fractured. And I realize everybody has different thoughts and feeling about their devices. I love the bigger size. No, I like the smaller size. Maybe come out with 2, but do you really need 5 different phones? I don't know. I mean, I wanted to see what you guys thought. Is it getting too crazy now?
Probably, but you would also think that they wouldn't do it unless they were making money. But for me, 5, is way too many. But, that's me, and I guess they're going to go what the market asks for.
I think the funny one for me now that stands out is the 16E, because it's not that much cheaper than the 17, and the 17 looks to be a far, far better phone than the 16E. And I know there may be a 17E in 6 months' time, but we'll see what that brings. But it used to be that the SE was significantly cheaper, so I could kind of see where it fit. But now, with the 4 main ones that just came out, plus the 16E, it's a bit of a funny one for me. But
yeah, but think about this, guys. So it disturbs me because you're right. When that 16E came out, the budget phone used to be a budget phone. To me, I don't think it's much of a budget phone. When you're talking about it's only $100 cheaper than the iPhone 17, it really bothers me because there's only $100 difference, and there's a massive difference between the 16E and the 17. You're getting way more for the bang of your buck for the 17. So if you're debating whether I want to get a 16E, for $100 more, guys, I really highly recommend you get the iPhone 17 because you're getting way more bang for the buck. You're getting way better display. You got the ProMotion. You got better cameras. You got better chips. You got everything that the 16E is missing. And that kind of what I was kind of alluding to earlier about the 17 Air compared to the 17 Pro. For $100 difference, is it really worth that difference in terms of battery, everything, cameras? And so it kind of bugs me. If they had a wider spread of prices where the budget used to be at a really good point value of the price, if we were talking $200-$300 a piece or spread apart, then I can see that making a difference. But you start to get this fracture where it's so close together that I'm just like, this is really going to confuse people because it used to be like, right?
It's marketing cause like, because like I was watching Marcus Brandy, NKBHD, big YouTuber, and he was saying like, and all the YouTubers, all 95 Mac, all of these guys, they're all saying the iPhone 17 is the value phone. It's the one that is really, really good phone. It's not missing much versus the Pro, and it's a much better price. This is the phone that almost everybody should buy. But the iPhone 17 Pro is the one that almost everybody is buying. So Apple have this system. They bring you in with, that's 17. Yeah, that's that looks nice. And then, it's only a couple of hundred more and I can get the Pro. and that's part of it. It's all this, having at least 3 options in and now it's 4, and I suppose, but having, or 5.
I don't know, my friend. I think there's a difference because it's about that GPU. Do you want that GPU for your AI right now?
The regular person going into a phone store doesn't have a clue about that, doesn't care about that, But I think it's cameras, much as we don't think of it, I think cameras do seem to sell phones. Cameras and battery, I think they're what's selling the Pro, probably.
What is it now? $300 difference between a 17 and 17 Pro now? Used to be $200, now not anymore. Now it's $300 because the Pro went up $100, Pro Max went up $100. So that's what I'm talking about. When you're talking about $200 to $300 spread, and you're talking about some differences, that is okay. But you slam something in like the Air, and you slam something in like the 16E, it's like,
where are your coffee beans going on the price of a Fold?
$2,500? $2,000. That's where my coffee beans is going to $2,000. I cannot see that be any cheaper than $1,999. I just can't.
I think that's the lower end of the. Sadly, that's
right. I mean, what are your takes, John? Do you feel like it's starting to kind of like it's getting messy? It's like there's the prices difference between the 16E and the 17, and the 17 Air to the Pro. It's just like
I can't keep track anymore.
Exactly. We have this podcast and I'm trying to explain to those out there that are in that boat. So I'm talking to a lot of users out there that don't know a lot of the know-hows or difference. And, I guess you can call us kind of a hardcore and that makes a difference in us, but I don't know, guys. All I can tell you, my listeners out there, is that if you want to stay on, if the Pro isn't something that you want, then I highly recommend the iPhone 17. I think that is the best bang for your buck. I would not even do a 16E, but, even though rumor has it the 17E is supposed to come out in the spring, but we don't know that. But anywho, that's just something to think about. All right. So next up, is Apple done for the year? I don't think they're done. Now, there's been a lot of talk about this in the past few months, and drum rolls things are just kind of keep going in cycle, but they're talking about a new MacBook coming out, a whole new line of MacBook. And this got kind of has me curious at the same time, but at the same time, I'm questioning this as well. Once again, it's marketing. So what am I talking about? So they are talking about this Ghost Mac. And so the Ghost Mac means it's vaporware right now until we know that's going to come out. But this new MacBook we're talking about is supposed to be in the price line of $599 to $699. So we're talking a pretty cheap MacBook for Apple. Well, what's the caveat? Well, the processor in this new MacBook is supposed to be the new A18 or the new A19 chip. So the point is that they're putting a mobile processor in a lower end MacBook. So I get it, it's at the lower point, and obviously they're trying to market this to more of a students area and maybe for schools, ditch their Chromebooks and things like that, because that's extremely popular over here in the States, that a lot of schools hand out Chromebooks to their students. And I think Apple wants to kind of tap into that, and they couldn't tap into that because the price of the MacBook were so expensive for school and people to purchase, especially for students. But putting this lower price on a MacBook, so I want to get your take on that. What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
I don't quite know what my thoughts are on it, if I'm honest. I mean, I can definitely see the idea. I mean, I got I got a MacBook Air with the M4 this year, and it was the first new Mac I've got for 5 years. So I came from a MacBook Air with the Intel processor. That Intel processor, like 5 years old, was still pretty decent. Like, I didn't absolutely need a new Mac yet. I decided after 5 years it was time, but like that got handed over to a family member who's still using it. These things, like, for what most of us are doing, if you're just, browsing, using Office kind of applications, email, that kind of stuff, you're not doing audio, you're not doing editing, you're not doing video, then it probably is perfectly capable, because an iPad is perfectly capable of doing that stuff, except that they haven't really given it the software maybe to do it to this as easily as on a computer. But I could definitely see that there's a market for this. And it could be an entry level, it could be your first Mac. And then when you finish college and you have a bit more money, maybe then you're in the Apple system then, and you'll go for a more expensive Mac. Whereas that's Apple's point of view marketing again. But I can see why Apple would do it for that purpose as well, even though it's a cheaper Mac. Maybe it's because it's that entry level one as well. So I can definitely see some value in it, or some validity in it.
John, I got to ask you, what are your thoughts? Do you think those that couldn't afford the MacBook, because it's pretty pricey, if there's something were to come a little lower and people always want to dive into the Mac, you think this would be it?
I think so, because Apple is reaching out, trying to get as many people as possible to take a look at Mac. Maybe those who have not spent a lot of time with Mac, or maybe those who are, like Dave says, are younger, maybe going to school and need something relatively inexpensive. So anytime you can reach out and get people hooked on the ecosystem, it's certainly worth a shot. And it's a good computer, so why not? You really have nothing to lose.
It's true. I mean, Apple is not going to produce something that's subpar. It's going to be premium feel to it, like a Mac should be. And I'm not worried about that. It's just that it kind of disturbs me a little bit that they decide to put a phone processor in a computer. I looked into it a little bit more, and I was like, I wonder how that, fits towards the M chip. So the M chip is what the MacBook runs on. And those are gorgeous chips, the M1 through the M4 chips to the current chip M4. And so when I looked at the specs, and I was kind of surprised, because if you did end up putting like an A18 or A19 processor, we're talking about equivalent to an M1 chip, if not just a tad bit better than M1 when it comes to CPU and GPU wise. And so I was kind of stunned on that. So it makes me wonder, and so here's the question I have for you guys. Why wouldn't you just put an M1 chip in something in a lower Mac model, so you have a little bit older version of the M chip? So obviously the M5 is supposed to come out in the spring. So why wouldn't you want to put an M1 chip in there, so that way you have that rather than just using a mobile processor? I mean, that's just odd.
I have to say, I don't understand chips well enough to know what really the difference is between an A chip and an M chip, because especially since it all went Apple Silicon, because it used to be the case that they had, Intel chips in their Macs, and they had then their own Apple Silicon in their phones, and now they're all that same architecture, whatever they call it, the Apple Silicon is on. And so, yeah, I don't know if it really matters. If you know what I mean, maybe it's an operational thing. Maybe it's they're producing all these A18s or 19s for iPads and iPhones, and inventory wise it makes sense to use that. It could be something like that. I just don't know. But
that is true. I mean, I've heard that the mobile process is more efficient. So I mean, the M chips is already efficient. So if it's even more efficient, so obviously when you get this lower MacBook, you're obviously going to get very low amount of RAM, not much of its SSD space. And so don't be surprised if you see some very minuscule specs in terms of RAM and drive and things like that. But that's not to scare you away. It's like Dave said, though, I have to agree with you, is that if it's really for students and those that you just use a general faces daily things. So Safari, if you do surfing and do some word processing and things like that, it's going to be just fine. I think so. Is it a gaming machine? No. Is it a video editor? Probably not. You're going to be able to do some light things, but this will be quite interesting when it comes out. I am kind of anxious to see some of the reviews on it, how this is going to work. And once again, the fracturing begins here as well. So let me explain what my fears on this. Why would I get an iPad Pro or an iPad when I can get the same price almost to get a MacBook of this Excalibur? So it seems like it's going to cannibalize on their iPad business and some of the lower end models. So it's like, I'm trying to figure out who this is for and who's going to buy it. So nonetheless, it's going to be interesting when this comes out. If it does, we'll definitely talk about that in the next podcast. But I want to let you know that might be a new MacBook line, so we have even more MacBooks to choose from, just like the iPhones. Our last conversation here before we wrapped up, I decided that we're going to go outside of the scope of Apple a little bit. It does affect us a little bit depending how you use your smart glasses. So let's talk about the smart glasses stuff. So it has been just gone bonkers the last couple months, guys, when it comes to smart glasses. I mean, just everybody and everyone is really getting into the smart glasses, which I think is phenomenal. But we had the Meta Connect. That's their own keynote version, kind of like the Apple has their own keynote. And Meta Connect revealed that they have the new second generation of the Ray-Ban glasses. So I was pretty excited about it because this is kind of a big enhancement for the second generation. We're talking about, it still uses the 12 megapixel camera. So I was kind of bummed that they didn't bump that up, and it still uses the ultra wide. And some of the things we have seen with Be My Eyes and things like that, that ultra wide lens kind of, I don't know, it just looks weird on the other end that's trying to help you. And so trying to see things close up, you have to be right on top of it for them to see it because it's ultra wide. But nonetheless, the resolution on that is up to 3K. And I was like, whoa, that's a huge bump up in resolution. So before I think it was like 1K and now we're up to 3K. So that is more than double when it comes to resolution camera. But I was really shocked to hear that it will support 60 frames per second on the camera, on the video, which is unbelievable speed. Nothing that you and I or those that are blind would take advantage or care about. But it just shows to me that that camera is way better than the old version on the first generation. But I was really surprised at the battery. I was stunned. I just fell down when I heard about this. It doubles the amount of hours. So you get about 9 or 8 hours on the second generation compared to 4 or 5 hours on, well, maybe 3 or 4 hours that we have on the first generation. So I don't know, between this and then the new Envision Solo, which is the new glasses by Envision that is been delayed. I think it's been delayed for about a month. I think there's going to be due out real quick here. And then, of course, the Echo Vision was delayed as well, and I think that comes out in November. All right, so with that, I'm going to go over to John on this because I know you got the Envision Solo, did you?
I did order them, yes.
Woohoo! When are you supposed to get that?
Well, now they're saying shipping is toward the end of October. It was supposed to be at the beginning of October, but they held it back a little bit. I think they had a few things they wanted to tweak a little bit. And there are some things that won't be on at launch, which
really,
I knew like the video will not be on at launch, but that would allow them to connect with Ira. But that's a top priority. And so I'm gambling that eventually that'll get done, but it may take, toward the end of the year. And I'm perfectly willing to wait. I mean, I haven't had Ira on a pair of glasses since Horizon back 5 years ago. So, and I know how much fun that was. So I'm gambling that they'll get it done for the Ally Solos glasses and I'll be able to use it again. And so I've been using Ally a lot on the app and playing with it. And the overall connectivity and the response time will be a lot better on the glasses. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be, despite the fact that they don't have the video yet, they will. They know that that's what everybody wants, and so they're going to make every effort to get that done. So,
well, let me ask you then, what do you think about the second generation Ray-Ban? Does that make you like, maybe I should hold off, or does that get you stuck in guessing? No,
because see, I've got problems with Meta and Ray-Ban in that I'm not convinced accessibility is a top priority for them because that's not their audience. And they've got some privacy things that I don't like where they utilize your information. And for those two reasons, I can't see myself getting Meta glasses at all. Some people may not care about that, and that's fine. Everybody does what they want to do, but I can't see myself doing that. I suppose that if the Ally Solo glasses hadn't come along, I might have gone to EchoVision, which I think, in addition to Ally Solos, are they're made specifically for blind people, and they work to make sure that the things that we need are a part of the overall package. So I think those two are really going to be major players in the near future. Now, EchoVision's they haven't even come out yet with a pair of glasses. So will that company survive? We don't know. We'll see. Hopefully they do, because that's great competition. And Envision, of course, has been around for about 8 years, so they know what they're doing. The thing about Meta is they're a huge company with a lot of money. And so they've been around, and they can afford to do what they're doing and utilize blind people as just kind of an added extra. But blind people are not the focal point, and never have been. Now, I see that Seeing AI is going to help them, which should help, because Seeing AI has got a good track record. But, it's everybody makes their own decisions on what they want to do, and really that's the way it should be.
Fair point. I knew that you were a really diehard when it comes to Envision, so I had to ask you what you thought. And you're not alone. There are people, I see people in different bandwagons. There's people that that love the Ray-Ban, and I see people that are really hardcore in Envision for those reasons. It seems like,
and especially with everybody, all three companies have pretty much the same price points now, which is really good for everybody concerned.
Although Ray-Ban is a lot cheaper still, by far. So I'll get to that in a moment. I'm going to see what Dave thinks about this and what his thoughts on all these different things that are coming out.
How long have we got? Yeah, I'm torn in 5 different directions,
Right.
So, we've met Karthik on a couple of occasions, or interviewed him on a couple of occasions. Lovely guy, and I love what they're doing over at Envision, and I know they are very much committed to making the best product for, like John said, for blind and visually impaired people, and that is their mission. Like, my experience with the Envision Ally app has been very mixed. I find it's quite slow, and it was, when I was using it for products recently, it was just like I held up, some grocery, food package, and it told me I was holding a disposable camera. So, do you know what I mean? It's misidentifying things a little, and I switch over to the Google and share my Gemini, and I share my camera with that, and it's quicker and seems to give you better results. Now, I know Envision is using various different AI models behind the scenes, and ethically they might be better as well, and that matters to me. So all this stuff kind of mixes in, and I really want Envision Ally and EchoVision to be successful and to work and to be the best options for us, because I really want to support those companies. And then, like I say, on Meta Ray-Bans, I have a pair, and I don't use them a huge amount, if I'm honest, but I do like them when I use them. I find them pretty good, and they've improved for us. They've even added accessibility features like being able to ask for more detailed responses as an accessibility feature. They've obviously done the deal with Be My Eyes already for volunteers, so I'd be surprised if this new deal that they've talked about with third parties being able to get more access to the glasses, and like John mentioned, Seeing AI, I'd be very surprised if we don't get Be My AI on there. I don't know. I'm not speaking in any way based on any knowledge at all, background knowledge at all. I'm just speculating. But I hope we would see Be My AI on there. But then the fact that they're owned by Meta, and again, I'm trying to make more ethical purchases and be more kind of considerate of that stuff. And then, so it's completely torn, Thomas. Completely torn. They both have pros and cons, I guess.
I agree. I think there's pros and cons to all of them. So here's AnonyMouse's honest opinion, and this is not going to suit well for a lot of people or some people out there, and I get that. We all have different opinions. So here's my thoughts. I think all three devices bring things to the table of pros and cons of what those that want and don't want out of a camera. Now, I will admit the Ray-Ban Gen 1 was, it was so-so. However, I will say that the 2 years I've had this, things have gotten way better. With the newest update just recently, I was shocked how much better it's gotten. Today I was finally be able to say, what's in front of me? And it says, oh, it's a small dog. And I said, what kind of dog is that? And they actually described it, the colors, and it was a Shih Tzu. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the first time it actually got things right. It's not the first time I've heard about the Ally. Don't get me wrong. It's just, I think the problem I have with Ally is a couple of fold. I think they kind of pegged their own LLM into their own proprietary LLM, and I think that's hurting them. Meaning that how well does it recognize things? And Dave is not the only person I've heard that. I've heard a handful of people, quite a few people saying that it's hallucinating and it's getting the products wrong. So what is the point of getting an Ally Solo glasses if it's not going to be reliable? I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, it's just like I have concerns about it. We all love the Be My AI and how reliable it is. And we all kind of wish the Be My AI was on all these devices. And I was hoping the Echo Vision, and because I haven't heard much about it and what LLM that they're using, but it sounds like they're using the more of the modern LLMs. And I've asked questions to Envision people. I said, when the new ChatGPT or new Llama things come out, how do you guys update? Because you're not on those models. You're just kind of basing the training from it. So it sounds like they kind of pull some information, but I'm just afraid. I just don't think Ally is quite there yet. I think they're behind. It almost reminds me of the AI on my Ray-Ban was 2 years ago. It's kind of, Yes, it does some things, and yes, it is blind specific. Yes, it has privacy. That they got that going for them. I totally agree with you on that. But I think they have a tall hill, because the price that you pay for that is pretty expensive, and I want the reliability from day one. And I get it that they'll start working on it, and I hope within a year that it'll be great. And I think that, but I think personally, what makes this Ray-Ban second generation really appealing for me is that they have heard us. Hey, you need to open up your API to third parties. So they are going to try to experiment with opening up those APIs to third parties. That means that other APIs or other apps can benefit to taking those cameras. So that's why we kept hearing the guys referring to Seeing AI. What are you talking about? Seeing AI doesn't work on the Ray-Ban, or it doesn't come on the Ray-Ban, because Ray-Ban is closed. So it means it uses their own proprietary cameras and stuff. So allowing them to open that up could possibly mean that Be My AI will come to that. Seeing AI will come to that. Lots of other things will be coming to that. WhatsApp might be able to take advantage of the video. So the possibility of opening up, you have privacy issue. Yeah, that is going to be there, but I'm hoping that we will get a better idea how that works once I find out how the privacy works for like Seeing AI and Be My AI. But I don't know. I think it's great that all three are going to compete. Unfortunately, I think not everybody's going to survive in the next year. We'll see how that goes. I don't want that to happen. but I really can't see all three of those coming out and staying alive, especially if Apple's going to be coming out within a year or two of their own smart glasses. I definitely going to see some people start to bow out of the market, and I think it's going to be the strongest. And unfortunately, that is going to be the Ray-Ban, and I think it's going to be Apple, and I think it's going to be Google, especially if Google comes out with their glasses they promise. So it makes me really worry about Envision. They really need to stay on top of it. I think the reliability and trustability on the Ally is going to have to increase dramatically. And you're going to have to share your device with other companies. And it's I really, if you're going to really succeed, you're going to have to let us be able to have Scene AI on there, Be My AI on, and other things on that sole device. And if they can't do that, then for me, you're going to lose my business, because I want that openness, and so it's going to be very important to me to have those. So, with that said,
it's the I was going to say, though, it's the age-old thing. Sorry, that of, like John mentioned his Victor Stream, and some people love still using those, while other people are like, no, there's a mainstream option there. I can play my books and my podcasts on my phone. So why would I use an external specialist device? Whereas other people are like, no, I really want the specialist device. So it kind of reminds me of that kind of age-old thing and it's difficult for those companies who are making the specialist devices to make something that's affordable and does everything we need when they're competing with Meta and Apple, for our attention and for our money.
Makes it tough, doesn't it? Because it's kind of like saying, those that they're stuck with the old self because they want that button feeling. And I get that. But then the iPhone came out, and it's kind of like, okay, you got the specialized phone or you got this new iPhone. And sometimes, you don't think about it, but sometimes it's kind of, this is kind of interesting, because you got bigger companies competing for that dollar. So I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on the views I had to say? I mean, do you kind of sort of understand that?
I understand it, but I think it's way too early to know which way it's going to go. I know Ally's only been out since March of 24, so they're still a work in progress, and they indicate that things are going to pick up with regard to speed, although they're not as worried about. They said they could make an Ally that would give you instantaneous reaction, but if they do that, then they have to sacrifice accuracy, and they don't want to do that. They would rather have it more accurate than instantaneous. So I know there's still work to do in that regard. Apparently, it's a lot faster on the glasses, and they haven't built that speed in yet on the Ally app. They will eventually, because eventually what's going to come to the glasses also it will be seen on the Ally app. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's early on. The Ally is too early.
The Ally app is free, and anybody who wants to can play with it. And eventually, that stuff's going to come to the phone, to the glasses. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I would say wait a year. Now, if you absolutely have to have a pair of hands-free glasses, then you either got to go with Meta or EchoVision, but they've been delayed too. So, who knows for sure what's going to happen in that regard.
Yeah, I'm also interested in whether I genuinely don't know the answer to this. Do the Ally Solos or the EchoVision work simply as a camera? Because I use my Meta Ray-Bans for taking photos and videos. Like, we went to a theme park with my nieces and nephews, and I was using it to take photos and videos on the day and not have to take my phone out and try and point it right. And just sort of take a picture as I point my head, or take a video. And I liked it for that.
Yeah, they don't work yet with a video. They're saying that they're going to have that come along at some point. But you can take pictures, yes.
Great.
When it comes to pictures, though, I agree. I think the Solo and the EchoVision is going to take better pictures. It's just simple because they don't have that ultra-wide lens. And if anybody ever seen an ultra-wide lens, it's fisheye. It looks weird. It looks different. It's not to say it's not clear. It's not It's just that when a sighted person look at it, it is a little bit different. It's kind of like HDTV used to come out. It was just wider. It was hard to explain to people that have been blind on their life to describe what that extra wide screen looks like. It's different. So when it comes to just purely camera, yeah, I can see that being a fact. I don't, this is just kind of a stir-up conversation. This is not, I'm saying this is better or anything like that. This is more of a stir-up conversation because I think I'm not the only one that feels this way. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are probably in my boat. It's like, what do I do? There's so many cool things with everything. There's pros and cons to all these guys. And I just feel like I'm not ready to put out any money yet. And I've always kind of been leery about specialized companies. That kind of turns me off in a way because I don't know why. It's just something that I've always had. I use JAWS. Is it specialized? Yeah. It's just, I just wish we could use something that's more mainstream that everybody uses. So I'm not a big fan of specialized. This is only designed for the blind people because I feel like that differentiate me. I guess that's just a mental thing of mine, but it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just something to think about. So it's starting to really heat up. And that's the whole point of the conversation is I feel like we've been kind of all over the board, but now it's starting to kind of like become more focused. And things are starting to heat up way more, especially Christmas coming up and we have all these new devices. Which one should I get? Boy, I think this is the toughest time ever because I think a year ago we had nothing but the Echo and I think everybody bought the Ray-Ban and were like, oh, yeah. And now we have something new and better and shinier. It just makes you like, wow. Now you got the second generation and now you got the Echo Vision and now you got the Envision Solo. Where do I go? So I'd be curious what everybody thinks. So just post on this podcast on AppleVis. I'd be curious what you guys think of it. This is not to create any division with people or say one thing is bad to another. It's just I think it really just depends on where your feelings are. And I think that's pretty safe to say. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate all your inputs on that. I knew it would be kind of a decisive, heated kind of a conversation. It's sensitive, and it is. And so I'll be curious where we are in about 6 months from now, and especially when the Apple Glass and the Google Glass comes out, I think it's all going to make it really, really hard on reasoning the specialty glasses. That's just my thoughts, and I could be wrong, and I hope that I'm wrong, but we'll see. Just a couple announcements before we head out of here. I want to let you guys know that I have a new podcast called The Gamers Corners for those that love games or want to get into gaming. It is primarily focused around Apple iOS gaming, but we do have a little segment in there where we talk about crossing consoles for those that have interest or have heard about people playing games on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam on PC. This might be something for you to listen. So if you're interested in games, give our first ever podcast of Gamers Corner is out. The plan is to come out maybe 2 or 3 times a year, just depending on the contents and how many games that has come out during that period that for us to review. And lastly, I started a new AnonyMouse app pick of the month, the first one ever. And I'm going to be picking what I think is an app highlight of the month. Typically, this will be either new apps that have just came out or apps that have has a significant update to that I think that is worthy of an app pick of the month and why I feel like that app has been chosen for the app of the month. And I have chosen one for September, and it's the Home Quest Idle Adventure game. It is not for everybody. It is kind of I say you have to be kind of more of an advanced user to use this game. There's games that are you can just pick up and learn easily. This is not one of those games. It's kind of in the moderate section, in the intermediate area where you need to have some knowledge because it's kind of a sim-based kind of game where you have to create your civilization. You have to create homes and get food and get resources to build your population up, and it does have some quirks to it, but I think it's good enough for most users out there. So I picked HomeQuest because it came out with a brand new chapter. First one they've had I think it's been a year, maybe 2 years since they had a new chapter. So I picked HomeQuest. So look for that article as well. I'll put that in the show note for you as well. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on, John, for another month. And I can't wait to hear about your solo glasses. So you'll be getting that, you think, around the end of October, you said, right?
Well, with the slight shipping delay, I'm thinking sometime in November, but we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you get it early, I want to hear everything about it. I want you to compare that to your Envision Now. I'm really anxious to hear what you think there between the two. And are you going to do any trips between now and then?
No, I don't have another schedule till Alaska next June is the next one.
Oh my, okay, awesome. And Mr. Dave, it's great to have you on for our first Apple Crunch. So thank you so much for coming on, my friend.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Well, great. Well, thank you, everybody. That'll be Apple Crunch for September 2025. My name is Thomas Domville, also known as AnonyMouse, along here with John Gassman and Dave Nason. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
This podcast was brought to you by the community at AppleVis.com. AppleVis, empowering people who are blind, deafblind, or who have low vision to get the most from Apple products and related technologies. A proud member of the Be My Eyes family. For more information, visit our website at www.applevis.com.